Welcome, everyone. We're so excited. I have this lovely person here today, Brendan Hill, who I met in the most amazing way, actually. I was listening to a man, Dr. Peter Goldman, who does healing work for many years called zone healing. And I thought it was fascinating, this amazing healing where you heal you connect the brain and the spinal cord for health. So I thought, well, this is really taking it to another level. So I said, I need to find a healer in my neighborhood. And I live in Amsterdam. So I literally Googled and I found Brendan, and he's like literally a 2-minute drive. So I was really excited. And so I said, Brendan, if I learn this healing, will you be my teacher? Will you help me to learn it? And he said, yes. And we had so much fun, and I'm so delighted. We think a lot alike. We help people heal on all levels. And I'm just so happy today to have him here for all of you, that you get not only meet Brendan, but you get an idea of how fascinating the world of health, wellness, and healing are. So Brendan, welcome.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me, Kathleen.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I'm curious to start off with your story. Can you tell me a little bit about how you began this whole your work?
Yeah, so as you know, we're both from the States. So I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. And then from there, I grew up playing football, American football. And I always had this idea of wanting to help people, but I just didn't know how. I always kind of like using my hands, helping my mom out or doing things of that. But I still didn't know what I wanted to do. But for some reason, I just knew I wanted to help people. And then fast forward to university, which I majored in kinesiology or exercise science movement of the body. And most of my classmates were going to medical school, physical therapy, occupational therapy, but no one was doing chiropractic. And at the time I was seeing a chiropractor because my family recommended I try one out,
Nice.
And I loved it. And he just said one thing: why don't you become a chiropractor? And then just that question from there, that's what I wanted to do.
Oh, Brendan, that's amazing. So tell me a little more about the work that you do now.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously I'm a chiropractor by title, and what I've really learned to do is almost like I kind of graduated or kind of understand the bigger picture of healing. When I first got into the zone technique, I was thinking of it more physical, like the brain and the spinal cord. It's a physical thing. And then while I kept learning, then I started realizing, okay, there's actually our thoughts. Our thoughts matter and how it influences the brain. So that's like a bit deeper into it. And then once I kept going, it's more like healing is really a spiritual thing in a way. It's not per se the addition of anything. It's kind of, I heard this quote, it's not about fixing people, it's kind of returning them to their old self. And just as pure healing in general is just, I don't know if I tell someone their consciousness is being raised, but I think it's kind of the same thing without the person being aware of it. So there's a physical aspect of healing, a mental aspect of healing, and also what people call spiritual aspects. And I like to think I have a better understanding in the context of healing with all three, and how when someone comes to me, how to apply those things.
That's so nice. So obviously we are not just our bodies, right? We are much more than that. And so realizing that as a practitioner, that's very powerful. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Because when someone comes into you with whatever disease, if I do think they're their body, it's kind of hard to help them. But if you realize the body is just a reflection of something deeper, their consciousness or the subconscious, then you start working in that realm. And if you work in that realm, then the body has to follow. So instead of working behind trying to change the body, we're trying to change someone's thoughts or maybe even their perception or their actions in life, their spiritual way. And then that in turn is a reflection of their body. So when people come to me, it's so much easier to think that their body is just a representation of their subconscious or their consciousness compared to that's just what's happening to them.
Right, because we often hear about all the symptoms, right, in medicine, and then we focus on treating the symptoms.
Yeah.
But when you have a higher consciousness about the idea, then you know that it's more than that. Like what you said, it's how you think, your ideas about yourself, being sick or not, or feeling bad or being stuck in a low frequency emotion or a storyline
For sure.
that is negative
For sure.
will certainly influence what's showing up.
Yeah, 100%. It's difficult. In the world that we live in, a lot of people get diagnosed, their body gets diagnosed. However, people turn that into their personality or their being, and now they have a mental and or a spiritual problem along with this physical problem. And so we can focus on the physical all we want, which, I mean, there is an aspect to it, but in the deeper realm, it is about, you know, at least a little bit further is the mental part. And then if the person's really open, then you can go even deeper about the oneness and the consciousness of things.
And the idea that they could be healthy.
100%. It's an idea. It's an idea. But many people in this world where our ideals are problems, there's always a problem. You know?
Yeah, of course. So like if somebody's coming to you and they say, I have this, and they go on, because I know how this was.
Yeah.
I have all this and so what are you thinking?
I think they think they have it for sure. Like just for example, we had a new client just today, and they said they were diagnosed with fibromyalgia, and I asked them, you know, what were your symptoms before they diagnosed you with fibromyalgia? And she says she had neck pain, wrist pain through her whole body all the time, every day. And I said, so you told the doctor you had pain in your muscles and joints? Like that's what you told him? She says, yes. I said, well, you know, the diagnosis they gave you in Latin, if I understand it correctly, is myo means muscle and algae means pain. So they pretty much told you that you have muscle pain in Latin. so
That's funny.
So yeah, so when she realizes that, there's a light bulb, like, like you're right, it doesn't really mean much to me because it's just a word. And once I had her understand that people have healed from muscle pain for thousands of years, it kind of gave her this sense of relaxation and this idea that she can heal. Because let's face it, the diagnosis of fibromyalgia or rheumatoid arthritis or Crohn's disease, the idea of those diagnoses means that from a medical perspective, you cannot cure those things. You can only treat the progression to slow it down. That is the definition.
It's autoimmune, yes.
It's the definition. It cannot heal. So
and you believe that then because you get the concept of the disease.
The disease,
and then
yes.
you think, I'm just never going to get rid of this, or I'm going to take medicine for it my whole life, or I'm going to. And then you have to think another thought, which would be, oh, what else could I do? Maybe there's something else, or maybe I can heal from it.
For sure. But the very in details, one cannot heal fibromyalgia because fibromyalgia as an idea was created or discovered.
That you have it forever.
That you'll have it forever. Mm-hmm. So
it's an idea.
It's an idea. The fibromyalgia is an idea. Muscle pain, which fibromyalgia is, can be cured quite easy actually. So what happens is you have to, well, you don't have to, but it's nice to sometimes acknowledge what the person believes they have and kind of just break it down in steps. It's a concept. It's no different than this table. This table is just made up of the legs, wood, screws.
It's empty space, actually.
Yeah, on the deepest level. But in this whatever we want to call reality, it's just a thing. It's parts come together in one. So when people come in with concepts, the point is to let's just separate these things, and it makes it easier for the person to heal because it doesn't seem so overwhelming.
That is so amazing, actually. So if a person truly believes in their subconscious that they can heal, what your belief is that you've seen in your work that makes a magnificent shift.
Yeah.
And they can heal quicker.
Yes. The problem or the difficulty is very sensitive because everyone thinks they believe.
They can heal.
Everyone says that they believe that they can heal, but it takes a bit of courage and acknowledgement to move on and
to let it go.
To let it go.
Yeah.
It takes courage. And it can be scary for some people.
Because you have these symptoms and you don't feel good.
Yeah, so remember the diagnosis in itself, remember somebody might come in with something that they said cannot heal at all. at all. And they've had this thing for 5 years, 10 years, or however long. And through this time, they've been to people probably. They've been to different healers or different things. And to say it was their belief of why they didn't, it's kind of offensive almost.
No, of course. You would never say that.
No, you wouldn't say that, but that's what they really believe, you know? So that's it's a fine line to
well,
try
I mean, in religion, that's always coming through the religion that you have to believe that you will heal. You have to pray and you have to. So obviously there were ideas in our past that made us think it's possible that through faith or belief you could heal.
Yeah.
So if your belief is strong enough, you could maybe perhaps move mountains.
You probably walk on water.
Exactly. So it's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah. I would agree with that 1,000%. I just, in the world that we live in, as far as our health context, I mean, if you turn on the TV, every show probably has a health-related concept. The news, they have a health-related concept.
Yeah.
It's as simple as watching something on TV and they say, my back hurts because of my age.
Yeah.
It's a small thing,
yeah.
But people get programmed with these ideas.
In a way, aging is a program. You're going to age.
I mean, in the Bible, didn't they live until like 200, 300 years or something?
Even 800.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going there.
Yeah.
Okay, so consciousness, let's talk about this idea of our thoughts being so powerful and our emotional state with the thoughts, obviously, because when you're thinking a thought and you're like healed, you're like free and you feel good in your body's. And when you're thinking, oh, I'm sick, I feel horrible, there's a totally different thoughts, right? So you're saying in your work, you really encourage them by your thoughts to think these more positive thoughts and healed thoughts.
Well, yeah, if we're going to go that level, then it's all oneness.
Yes.
Like every person who comes to me is a reflection of me.
Yeah.
So, if I really believe they can heal, then if they're just a reflection of me, then of course they'll heal.
Oh, so cool. So give me some examples. You've been working for a while now.
And
you do this zone
Yeah, we do the
healing.
zone technique, yes.
Maybe you explain a little bit about zone healing.
Okay, well, like I said, there's different aspects of zone healing or zone technique. When people first started, we think, many people, not all people, but a lot of people think in the physical realm. So in the physical aspect, there's 6 zones, and these 6 zones represent 6 different parts of the brain. Now, these areas are being sent to your body, from the brain to the body. And the idea is that if one or more zones are out of balance, then your body is going to reflect that through symptoms or dysfunction. So the job is really to find which zone or zones were out of balance and balance them through whatever mechanism that you do. For me, I'm a chiropractor, so I will give them a chiropractic adjustment in those areas of the spine. If you're acupuncture, you might do acupuncture, or a massage therapist, or a Reiki healer, energy worker. There's different aspects, but the point is that the premise is that we balance the brain. The brain in turn sends normal and balanced information to the body. And the person is able to heal on the physical.
Yeah, because we know that one of the aspects of dis-ease is when the energy is stagnant. When things, when you have a thought like, I'm sick and I can't get better and I'm horrible, and then every day you feel a little heavier and everything, the energy gets more stuck, right? So what you're really doing is you're saying, okay, we're going to open up those areas, move the energy flow through again. And that's a powerful energy field from the brain to the spine.
Well, for sure. Like, so since we're talking with you, Kathleen, to be honest with you, the physical aspect of it means not much at all, because what they're coming in with, when we're saying we're going to balance the body, we're giving a new idea. And if this person is able to accept this idea, it'll play itself out, however it plays it out, right? So,
and the energy will just start moving.
It'll start
anyway.
moving because they accepted their idea.
Yeah, I understand. So that biofield, we're always influencing.
We're always influencing it. We're always influencing it. And then it's almost, in this world, the adjustment that we're giving, I mean, I don't know, by the way, I'm not an expert at quantum physics or anything of that sort, but the adjustment is not per se an illusion, but it's just, it's part of it, but I don't know how.
Well, I feel like it influences it.
It influences, I just don't know the percentage of it. I don't know if it's 50%, 5%. I don't know.
But I know, like, if somebody slips, if they really did some weird mood and the muscles are out, and I would come to you, I think the physical also is loving, right? It's supportive of the muscles.
I mean, it is, but also before that I touch you, there has to be a certain trust and belief
that you're going to help
right?
me. Yep.
Right? So, like if you didn't have that and I still touched you, then I'm able to make it worse.
And so even a doctor technically who says to his patient, in the old days, they were more seeing the patient more intimately, like than they have that experience now. But let's say they said, oh, you're going to heal from this. That would really be powerful.
A ton.
Yeah.
But they don't believe that they'll heal.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree with it. I think there's a lot of power in that they've developed over the century or the decades. But the problem with it is the foundation. They don't believe that they can actually cure people because that's the philosophy.
The way they've been trained.
Yes, the way they've been trained. So
I know that because as a nurse and I worked in the field of cancer for a while, they would give a percentage that you would be still living. It was always a little much, and I was like, ah.
Yeah, so that's not their philosophy, So when people say they need to find research to cure this or cure that, I mean, that's just not the philosophy of them. Their job is to slow down the progression of disease. But
and
that doesn't
eliminate symptoms, obviously.
But they believe even if the symptoms are gone and you're happy, they still say you have it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You always have that. And then I think furthermore about this idea of people, so thoughts are very powerful. Dis-ease means dis-ease, like you're not at balance. Can you share a little bit about that in the healing process?
So you asked me earlier, when people come to me, and they are not their body, right? But if someone has symptoms, and I might give you the accidents to fall off a roof or you've been injured in some way. But other than that, I mean, even by the way, you can debate that one. But other than that, I think when people have symptoms, it's just a reflection of their subconscious. Like something is going on. They might be angry.
Yeah.
They might be worried. They might be fearful. But it's really just a direct correlation to their subconscious. Now, again, people may acknowledge that or not acknowledge that, but that's just how I view the body.
In the past, we did have a different system. When you look hundreds of years ago, it seemed to be more holistic. We've really, our current medical model that is very much disease-oriented is not really as holistic as it could be. True, we have you go to the psychology department.
It's all
it's all separate.
Yeah, it's all separate.
So what you're advocating, I know in your work, is that we need to go into a more holistic system.
Yeah, holistic. To me, by the way, holistic being obviously there's a physical where there is a body at least.
Yeah.
Electrons made up, compacted together. There's a mental aspect. When I say mental, that's our patience or anger or worry, just our emotional state that we need to develop as well. And then also ultimately, this is an opinion. I do think there needs to be an acknowledgement of a higher power or God. But I think something to help you with your aspirations to kind of get you through. And that's a deeper level of things. And I think that's holistic, that maybe you might have a purpose.
That you're connected to all of that.
Yeah, connected. And I think you're more connected the better you work on yourself, mentally or emotionally, and then how you treat yourself physically. I think that's holistic.
I think that's cool because I remember when I came to you a year ago and I had not done any yoga, and I had a belief that I couldn't do yoga. Because when I had done yoga before, I kept getting injured. I kept hurting myself. Like I would go there and then I would be in a position and then I would have, this pain here. And I kept thinking that there was something sort of permanently wrong with my neck because I had had a fall once with a little kid. So I was thinking that now I look back when I first met you. And then over the course of the year I worked with you, and a little bit longer now, I would go to the yoga and I would maybe have that feeling, that pain or that, but then I always had the faith, but if it comes back, the pain, I have Brendan, it'll be fine. I felt secure suddenly in the belief that I wouldn't have that I would actually, that the yoga I could master.
Yeah.
And that belief it's powerful because now I've completely mastered it on a high level. I know. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But I never thought it was possible before.
No, but that's...
I kept thinking I'm too old. It's not possible. You know, like I had all those thoughts.
Yeah, but here's the thing. And you know this, there are many people in the health realm or the wellness realm or the spiritual realm who also unknowingly or knowingly have these limitations that in a way sound logical.
Yeah.
That sound logical, and we can make it logical.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, if we keep these limitations and make them logical, no matter what you do, you're not going to get better, because that belief will...
It's strong.
Yeah, it'll be more than any physical thing that you try to do.
Definitely. If I had not literally gone to yoga every day believing that I would get over it, it wouldn't have happened.
No.
And then I would have gone to yoga and it would have been an injury.
Yeah.
I would have felt,
Yeah, but that's why I mentioned earlier, it takes courage.
Yeah,
right?
It takes courage.
It takes courage.
Think another thought. So Brendan, I'm curious, because we're in this most amazing time on the planet right now where consciousness is expanding. We're seeing things we never saw. We're understanding new sciences that, like quantum physics, that explain actually why what you're talking about actually is very powerful, because our thoughts are real. They're energetic frequencies and they affect the field. And we are a field and we're all connected. But why do you think, why are you excited about this period? I guess I could say.
Yeah, so I do think more people are becoming more aware in the sense of taking care of themselves physically and emotionally. I do think we're progressing into the oneness, or maybe the Christ-like consciousness. But to be honest with you, I have no answer if it's more now than before. I think that's more so your expertise. So I'm really curious to hear, what do you think about it? Is it more now or than before?
Yeah, I know that we're in a real quantum leap in our consciousness and our evolutionary stage that I have been knowing for many years would be coming. And you can see it because one of the signs that we're here is that all the old structures are falling. Mm-hmm. And that's very uncomfortable. It's a period of discomfort or unease that we don't know. Human beings like to know things. They kind of like to know where they're going. They like to know that they're going to make enough money, that they're going to have enough, security. But in the end, right now, you don't know anything, because not only do you have the disruptions on the outside, so your inner world is always a reflection, your outer world's your inner reflection, right? Mm-hmm, so the outer world for the last 10, 15, 20 years we've been like catapulting in technology. First we had computers, now we have AI. Mm-hmm. We're going to see like in the next 10 years, like incredible things. So that shows us that like consciousness is speeding up, because in the old days, when you wanted to learn something and you had to gain information, you would like have to take a letter all the way over. Took time. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But now we seem to be catapulting out of the time-space continuum that we're in, and we're going out of that. And as we step out of that, humanity is kind of seeing like, wow, lightning bolt. Like we don't even this is the age of communication, obviously. And because we have communication at our fingerstep, information, we're in an information age. And because we're in an information age, we're like growing by leaps and bounds, because you don't have to just go over to the library to find something. It's instant.
So you're saying because of the technology development?
That's just a reflection of our inner consciousness growth.
Because we developed it?
Yes, because we're at a very much quantum leap in consciousness.
Okay. So I'm just asking it. So this technology that we have access to, it's supposed to aid us in development?
Well, it's supposed to aid us. It's a reflection of our ability to master our environment, to co-create with our environment. Mm. So as we're having this quantum leap, we're getting more information about how it works, how we actually co-create our reality. Like you said, with God, with Source, we used to know it on some level, we believed it, but now we actually have science showing us how that happens. That's so beautiful, right? Yeah. And so I think is it's a time of acceleration of consciousness, and everybody's on their own level and they're going to go at their own rate, and the new kids are here. They know more. You just hear them talking about yoga. We didn't even know what yoga was, or meditation. We didn't know what that was either. We were like, what's that, when we were young? So that shows you the change, because now, because information can be at your fingertips, it's just more information in the field.
Yeah.
And more information is a higher consciousness.
Okay, so I'm genuinely, this is
Is it fun?
So, yeah, it's great. So like, because there's more information out,
yes.
how is one supposed to distinguish between information that helps you develop or information that keeps you as you are? Like how can we
This is a
distinguish
good
between
question
that?
right now with AI. I think we're in a very critical moment of discernment. Like, we have to start to develop our inner intuition, or our connection to source, you would say, our true light information, to know and follow our heart consciousness. So we've been in the brain a long time, thinking, computing, left brain, very logical. Now we're having this real shift into the heart consciousness. And so humanity is starting to, the heart is so big. It has a huge electromagnetic field that connects to source, that connects to your inner knowing. Yeah. So I think we're getting better, and we call it intuition, right? But we're getting better at listening to our inner voice. Is this true? Do I need this? And because we're kind of overwhelmed with information right now, like fake news, right? It's for a reason. We're really having to ask the question, is this information serving my life? Is this the way I want to go? What do I want to participate in?
So are you saying more if we're led by our heart more, is that kind of also another way to say that we are following our purpose?
Well, I think we will, because our heart will bring us in.
It kind of goes into, it kind of becomes aligned. Following your heart kind of brings you to your purpose more.
So tell me a little bit about that for you. I'm curious, like a soul purpose. How could that help you heal, finding that?
Oh, that is a great question.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
That's a great question. Many of my clients that I ask them, not all of them, but I just ask randomly. I ask if they have a hobby. Like, is there anything that you just like to do? And most people, do you guess what the most common answer is? What do you think the most common answer is?
I wouldn't have a clue.
Working out.
Oh, well, okay, that makes sense.
That is everyone's. That is.
And by the way, in my time, it wasn't.
No. But
That's a new thing.
Now everyone finds that working out is their hobby
in whatever form.
But then I start asking, I'm like, okay, fair, but do you have a creative hobby? Do you create? And most people have zero answer.
That's really incredible.
Yeah. And so.
But maybe they don't understand what that is.
No, it's just, they forgot about it. They forgot.
So what you're saying is that consciousness that we co-create our reality, and that we need to be creative to be really happy and fulfilled, is powerful.
I mean, yeah, I think I'm not an expert at this, but I think creating is the best way to express your purpose. Now, when I say create, I mean, it could be through film, through art, through music, through food.
How do you create?
How do I create?
Yeah.
I like to experiment on things. Yeah. I like to experiment on things.
Okay.
I kind of grew up as an athlete, so I like to, for example, I did some boxing, matches or something like that. Right now, every Wednesday, I do painting with my daughter.
Oh, very nice.
I at least try to we do painting or drawing, which she's at the level of me now. That's how much.
How old is she?
She's 2.5. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's so funny.
You couldn't tell the difference between her and my drawing. So that's something I wanted to develop.
That's funny.
Recently. But you're right, the access, you have so much access to things. So I mean, there's as simple as like learning about a camera or about editing or writing or building something. And I do use AI for just step-by-step things sometimes to kind of like, how can I do this? How can I do that? So it does aid in my curiosity to figure out how I can create different things.
I think it's really important with AI that we realize that how we use it, to be conscious that we use it to help us, but that we don't stop our own creative flow. Because our creations are original thought. And I think at this point, I don't believe that computers have original thought, but maybe AI will in the future. I have no idea. Right now, I don't think they do, but I don't know. Sometimes I'm surprised.
Yeah.
But I think for me, I think it's important as a human being to know that your original thought is creative.
Yeah.
So whatever that is.
100%.
You know?
My daughter being 2.5 now, it's funny because I bought this like drawing book, and you know how they have like, it's a scene and she just colors a scene.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, I'm like, is this teaching her to follow how everyone else thinks? So I kind of abandoned it and just, hey, here's a blank sheet and just
let her be free. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's as simple as that it's not a bad thing that they're coloring a bear or teddy bear. It's not a bad thing per se, but it is, one has to ask that, is this a way, knowingly or unknowingly, whoever created it, to start limiting someone's creativity or ideas? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just something that I kind of question. What do you think about that?
I think that there's going to be a big movement into, once people realize that they co-create their reality, that they will think of being creative, that will be valuable. And I think in the new world, that will be valuable. So, because I think it is fundamental in our process as human beings. We're here as creative individuals. And so I think along the way, we got into survival. And we were just surviving. We weren't thriving. We were literally like, oh, how am I going to eat tomorrow, right? How am I going to? So this is in the program. So we have to get out of that program and get into the program that we have, and we can create anything we need, and that we have the power with faith and belief that we can do that. Like you said, we can do whatever.
I've recently had this thought. I'm just curious to get your thoughts about this, your ideas about this. So when we talk about creation, do you think not saying the first step, but the closer you are to source or God, would one create differently compared to one that just relies on their past, or, you know, like they're both creating, but one is creating from a different source? Like,
it's really, it's interesting, isn't it, that question? I feel like no judgment. Like that's the first thing that, as you were saying it, because I think wherever we're at is perfect. Like it's good. We're all where we need to be in this world we've been in, learning about opposition, about duality, about right and wrong, and all the stuff that was just kind of an illusion. But I think when you're kind of hopping out of duality and you're realizing that you're directly connected to all that light and love, and you are all that is. You are connected to everybody and everything, and that is such a powerful thought. And I think when you have that thought and you have this connection, you're more listening mode to it. You're more like, oh, it's real. Like we're really connected to this huge field, and maybe I should humble myself and listen now. Because when I will be quiet, when I will still all those thoughts, I will get a different motivation. I will get a different heart space for it. And I will create something different, yes. But I don't ever like to judge, because I think...
It's not per se judging. It's
but you understand what I'm saying? Because little children, like your child, it's, although they're brilliant, but you know that they're going through a development. They have to go through certain developmental stages. I had 3 of them. So I know exactly that my kids, they were like, you know, we don't call them terrible twos, but we did then. But they were just like, no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, oh God, how am I going to get, this is very complicated. We really need to work on this, because you don't want to do anything I want to do. So, but they had to go through that to develop their autonomy. So when you think of human beings as we are in each in our own stage of development of self-reflection, of consciousness, then, and when you can accept everybody as perfect where they are, no matter what they're doing, because they're not really what they're doing, right? We are just are. And so when you think, oh, I just am, and I do things, but that means that I'm not my story. I'm not what I do. So in the end, getting back to healing and feeling good, I believe that we need to really be clear and take care of ourselves. And when we're not, then we get out of balance.
Yeah.
And what you were explaining, I'm going to create something and I'm just going to do that from my past. That's what you had asked me. Well, what was in your past? Were you failure in that creations before? Were you constantly told by your dad that you wouldn't do it and you're not good enough? And are you kidding me, kid? You're never going to end up anywhere. Or whatever happened to you. What is that? That's kind of fueling your creation underneath it.
Yeah.
So I think your question is very profound because in the end, we have to clear all that up, a lot of it right now. That's our work on earth to say, oh, do these past, I don't want to go to the past. I want to be right now in the present moment because that's where I have my power. And I want to ask myself, truly, right?
Does one, I'm
curious,
go ahead. Does one have to, in the sake of creation or health, do you think one has to talk about their past and get over their past, or can they just start now and kind of just...
I think both can be possible. I think it depends what the soul needs to get back to themselves. If they've been disconnected or fragmented because of a very traumatic event, then they might need to go back just to release. But I believe in the future, wouldn't it be possible just to say, I release everything in the past and then it's gone? I mean, it's very powerful.
I would agree. And it's funny because maybe a week ago, I told you my 2.5-year-old daughter, and I don't know where, I can assume where she got it from. You know, you go to daycare or whatever. Yeah. She just starts saying, "Ik ben ziek, ik ben ziek." If anyone knows me.
And that's in Dutch. It means I am sick.
If anyone knows me, I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Where did she get this from? But it's such a simple, it's such a simple saying that many people would say, what's wrong with saying it? Well, first off, she's not sick. I know that, at all. But the fact is, I am.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So it's good that you got her thinking about not saying that.
Yeah, and actually, I am strong.
Oh, good.
I am healthy.
So, Brendan, actually, we've had this whole conversation now about being creative, kind of being in the flow with our life, being in the present moment, beliefs, how powerful they are. Let's talk about that soul purpose again. So when somebody is not in their soul purpose, let's say they're doing a job and they actually hate this job.
Yeah.
What is your experience with that person?
In a healing context?
Yes.
Oh, I mean, as I said, their body's just a reflection of their soul. So not most likely, they're probably, emotionally speaking, they'll probably be angry.
Bored, maybe.
Bored.
Yeah.
Fearful in the sense of probably not wanting to move on, knowing they have to move on or knowing that they should move on, but they're not, which will create a self-condemnation.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't know, this, by the way, maybe, I don't know, but maybe in the beginning they were aware of this, but the longer they don't do something, it kind of seeks itself in deeper into their consciousness and consciously forgotten, but reflecting in their body. So some people might call that a burnout, or difficulty sleeping, or just a tightness all the time. You know, this isn't per se all the time. It's just anxiety, things that you tell me about. So, which is interesting because I don't have to tell them to change their job in order to help them. However, when they do start feeling better, I've had many people start doing things differently.
Yeah, they just like suddenly go, whoops, that's over now.
Yeah, maybe literally, maybe they quit their job. Maybe they quit a relationship. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like to recommend because I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I just know how to make sure that the person heals.
Yeah.
And then from there, I do believe that a person who is functioning great, feeling great, thinks differently and will start to do things that are more in line with staying that way. So
you mean in their soul purpose?
In their soul purpose,
they start to get back into that.
Yeah, I think they're like just fragmented, you know, and then you bring them closer and then they start viewing life in a more aligned way.
Yeah.
And through that, I think they start making decisions. Now, I don't talk about their decisions, but I do trust that a person who's healthy physically and mentally will start doing things that are more aligned with what they want to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I totally see that in my work. So when people are off the track, they're not really doing what they're meant to be doing here. Usually they're not using their talents. They're not in their creative mode. Not always, but you could say. And then they get more and more miserable.
Yeah.
And you said anger, what all those low frequency emotions, they feel stuck actually.
Yeah.
And so then when you get them in alignment with the body, mind, spirit, they immediately start to be reconnected to why they're what they're here to do, right?
Yeah, and yes, but I've also seen, I've seen many times where people start a journey to become better, but they still hold on to old ideas.
Yes.
And now they're really confused because they feel like they're doing everything that is right, but they're still holding on to old ideas.
Like, give me an example.
Concepts, just which I've heard a lot often is trauma.
Oh yeah, I have that trauma, so they're always stuck to it.
Yeah. So
I had that terrible youth with all that trauma. It's like they can't get over it because, and we're not saying that some people really can't. But
no, it's not to say like you should or should not get over something. What I am saying, well, it is a concept that is contradicting to the life of what you want.
Yes.
So
in order to get the life you want, you might have to change that concept.
Exactly.
So I always think I'm a healing facilitator. I don't really say I'm a healer anymore.
Yes.
I'm a healing facilitator. I'm sort of a mirror for the possibility of what they can create themselves. I'm curious though if you want to talk about that or share another story or.
So these are just things I've thought about. So you're familiar with the originator and the executive. So the originator being the teacher, the executive person executing it would be the student, or doctor, patient, or teacher, or father, daughter, or son.
Yeah.
Like there's an originator of an idea. There's a person who executes the idea.
Yeah, because they believe them because they're in superior.
Exactly.
Place.
So they're giving them
like a sportsman, like
so
you're in sports.
You're the coach, you're the player.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So so the originator is originating the idea for the person or listening. Now this can also be, for example, government, society. You know, like they're giving you an idea of what to do.
Yeah. That happened at COVID.
It's on all levels.
Happens all the time.
So it's on all levels.
Yes.
So I started thinking about in the sense of when a child is first conceived, there's a cell or there's a sperm in the egg.
Yeah.
And then 2 comes 4 cells, 4 become 8, 8 becomes 16, and so forth. And it's consistent giving, obviously there might be exceptions, but given a healthy mother, healthy environment, a baby will grow healthy. And it's quite normal, 9 months or 8 months or whatever.
Structure is function.
Yes. So then I started thinking, well, if there's instruction, there's got to be an originator.
Yes.
Which...
Original thought.
Yeah, which is God or innate intelligence or whatever you want to call it, universal intelligence. That is the ultimate originator.
Tell me the power of realizing that you are just choosing to play a role, that you are actually not the person in the role. Like you're not the victim or the perpetrator or the storylines that we create all day long.
So
because you're dealing with stories, you're listening to their story.
That's all it is.
Yeah, you listen to their story.
It's a story.
Yeah.
When people come into, I start thinking of it as a play almost.
Yeah.
Like my office is a stage, and I just have different actors coming in.
Okay.
That's how I start thinking about it.
Like
and I'm
that.
the director, so I can tell you when to go, when to cut, when to pause. Like I'm the director, and we have a thing. But in general, I like to. I don't necessarily know if I view it in those ways, but I will say, which I've heard Dr. Pete or Dr. Thurman Fleet say, people need to take full radical responsibility. Like radical responsibility. Everything in your life is because of you. And once we accept this, then we can have the power to move on. But if we don't take responsibility, it can be as simple as a client coming to me and saying, for example, I've been to 5 practitioners and I've spent 5,000 euros and nothing worked. Well, guess what? That was your decision and you did that. So we can move past that and start fresh new, or you can hold on to the money that you feel like you wasted. It's not that big, but the point is that
It's kind of big though.
yeah,
Because if you're stuck, if you're upset about the money you spent, and then you're not going to be open to being in the moment now with a new storyline.
yeah, take a responsibility. You probably made a mistake or trust it, which is okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it'll help you move forward if you take that responsibility.
And you just say, I spent it. It led me here now. So now I'm going to have a new thought that this is going to work.
Yeah, compared to, oh, how much might it cost?
Yeah.
I don't want it to not work again.
Yes.
You know, so
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's funny. They can walk into your office and the action is positive because they're there, but consciously they're, like I said, it's a contradiction. So a really good healer would be able to notice these things and deal with it in the moment.
Yeah.
And if you do deal with it in the moment, then you can ease them into health.
Just by your concept.
Just by doing it.
Yeah.
But if you ignore this, then and they continue, then it's just going to be a lot of friction and contradiction.
Yeah, they're not going to be in the flow.
No.
They're not going to be in this moment. We can really only change something from this present moment.
Yeah.
So if we're not in this moment with you, trusting, healing, believing, then we can't give our body, mind, spirit the permission to heal.
Yeah.
It's like so I always think I'm a healing facilitator. I don't really say I'm a healer anymore.
Yes.
I'm a healing facilitator. I'm sort of a mirror for the possibility of what they can create themselves. I'm curious though if you want to talk about that or share another story or.
So these are just things I've thought about. So so you're familiar with the originator and the executive. So the originator being the teacher. The executive person executing it would be the student, or doctor, patient, or teacher, or father, daughter, or son.
Yeah.
You know, like there's an originator of an idea. There's a person who executes the idea.
Yeah, because they believe them because they're in superior.
Exactly.
Place.
So they're giving them
like a sportsman. Like
so
you're in sports.
You're the coach. You're the player.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So so the originator is originating the idea for the person or listening. Now, this can also be, for example, government, society. You know, like they're giving you an idea of what to do.
Yeah, that happened at COVID.
It's on all levels.
Happens all the time.
So it's on all levels.
Yes.
So I start thinking about in the sense of when a child is first conceived. You know, there's a cell or there's a sperm in the egg.
Yeah.
And then 2 comes 4 cells. 4 become 8. 8 becomes 16, and so forth. And it's consistent, giving, obviously there might be exceptions, but given a healthy mother, healthy environment, a baby will grow healthy. And it's quite normal, 9 months or 8 months or whatever
Structure
it is.
is function.
Yes. So then I start thinking, well, if there's instruction, there's got to be an originator.
Yes.
Which...
Original thought.
Yeah, which is God or innate intelligence or whatever you want to call it, universal intelligence. That is the ultimate originator. So a child is born healthy, given instruction from the original originator, God. And then we go through life. And then we start believing other things. A child might be thinking they're clumsy, or they have bad genes, or just something that they're told.
Or somebody's told they have a diabetic gene and they're going to have diabetes.
Yeah. So then what happens is they start accepting the origination from their environment rather than the source. So I like to think of it as I'm not per se fixing them. I'm just getting rid of their old concepts to return them back to the original messenger.
The original blueprint.
Yeah. And I think that's what healing is. So I think healer would be in the sake of just our language, you know?
Yeah, like it's a remembering.
That's
of the
really,
original.
That's
blueprint.
really what healing. Yeah, that's what really healing is. We're not doing anything new. We're just getting rid of all the stuff you believed in that wasn't
that happened all the way that caused the disconnections.
Yes.
Or disease.
Yeah. So we're just bringing them back to being connected.
Perfect.
Yeah, and
lovely.
And it's like I said, it's more the physical's here, but it's more of a conscious thing. And we have so many people on this earth, especially healers, who haven't acknowledged this part of it. You know, or we might have acknowledged it, but we still have things in ourselves to kind of clear out, you know, because in the Western concept, we've been programmed to think in a allopathic model if we didn't have.
I mean, it's wild, right? When I think about my years in the hospital, it was literally drugs and certain therapies, and that's all we discussed. And sometimes we would talk about psychosocial care or something.
Yeah.
But it was usually like a person coming on the ward that was concerned, and certain hospitals were better at that than others. Where I worked at Georgetown, they did have that, but you couldn't always get them. Like, you had tons of patients with all these kind of problems, and if they weren't there, that aspect of their life and their part of themselves was just ignored. So no matter what they had or no matter what problem they have.
Yeah.
So it is fascinating that we have a system that has been programmed to just look at the physical, but we are changing. This is this whole new aspect of integrative medicine now.
Yeah, before, but I think you understand the flex and report and things of that sort.
Yeah.
I think before that, wasn't it more holistic?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, in the case of 100 years ago,
Yes.
or 100 and plus years ago, are we almost kind of behind than where we were 100
I think we're
years ago in a
going.
way?
I think we're going to have this quantum leap, and there's going to be so many technologies coming that are going to be on the other level, on the energetic level of healing, on the emotional level, and we're going to start to see that they're all connected. And that's the next 20 years, because we're in this. Pluto is in Aquarius, and that is a revolutionary change in every sector of our
Well,
life.
so we talked about
Like AI.
yeah.
AI could, in the future, the doctors won't have to guess what's wrong with you. They'll just put your hand somewhere and they'll go, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Oh, she has 10 million cancer cells. They
Which
need to
is-
be, everybody has cancer.
No, but
yeah.
in general, but it's just an idea, right?
Yeah.
Like our AI, in the context of healing per se, it'll, at least now, at least as of today,
Yeah.
it's just an arm of allopathic medicine, right?
Yes.
So,
But there is a whole part coming, because people are asking, I don't feel good enough here. And I don't want to take 10 medicines, and I want to heal completely. So people's consciousness is starting to pave the way for integrative medicine. And we see that it's growing and getting stronger, and you're part of it, and I'm part of it. And people like us telling these stories.
Yeah.
So is there one more story you'd like to tell the audience that hits you, that you'd like to share?
a positive story.
Yeah. Where I'm sure you have a lot of them.
No, yeah. Sometimes when people ask these things, it's like, well, let me think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did have a lady who was told she would pass, like
She was dying
given that she would die
from a disease.
from a disease
Okay.
in maybe weeks or a couple months, And I remember one day she was seeing me a couple weeks and she was doing better. And she came in and she was breathing really hard, like really hard. I'm saying, hey, what happened? And she says, hey, this disease got into my lungs and now I have a hard time breathing. And by the way, I saw her 2 days before that and she's breathing normal.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
a big change.
Yeah, but people have to acknowledge that our ideas and our consciousness will change our body quite fast. So I just kind of made fun of her for being dramatic in the sense of, I just saw you 2 days ago and you were breathing fine. So did it just happen in the last 24 hours? But she just laughed. She laughed and we kept going. And what's funny is a couple months later, she booked a flight to her home country to go on vacation by herself. So she was healthy and alive and totally fine. But it was just that moment of her breathing hard was a very pivotal moment, because in the sense of, to me, I didn't make it more serious or deal with it as if it was serious. So in her consciousness, that created more comfort for her.
Yeah, she had to trust then.
Yeah, and we were able to continue.
That's interesting.
Compared to...
And she's still here?
Yes.
Okay. I love that story.
And compared to, if I would have entertained it more, like,
how horrible that you have this
how
terrible.
horrible it is, or something like that.
Of course it's now in your lung. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Or even in a positive way. No, your lungs are strong or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just to acknowledge
Her feelings.
in connection to that is negative.
Yeah.
Because it has nothing to do.
You have to take them out of the story.
Yes,
almost,
yes,
yeah.
that has nothing to do with what we're doing here.
Yeah.
And that's more important than being positive or negative about that
Yes,
test.
I
It's
get
more
it.
about just keeping that where that is, and we shall continue.
So, Brendan, we are all here on our evolutionary path. We're going somewhere, right? But you and I have spoken about the idea that we're making a real shift now from kind of competition, kind of duality, very heavy themes, to more cooperation, unity, a higher consciousness. Can you share with me your thoughts on this?
I do think as you mentioned earlier, the external reflection is just a reflection of our internal self. And I do think we all have to grow in order for this world to be more evolved or to move on. So I do think that we all should work on ourselves at a different level. Everyone's on a different level, like you say. And some people are just starting off on the physical level.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where
Some
you start.
people are really big into their emotional self, or some people are even trying to connect more to God or to Jesus or Muhammad or Buddha or whoever
Whatever.
that one may serve. But I hope that we have, maybe from AI, that we have more of a connection to ask these questions and to develop ourselves, our being. I think there's this, I don't know if he's a philosopher, metaphysician. He says people grow either their being or their knowledge, or in their knowledge. And he says their knowledge is directly equivalent to how their being is.
Yeah.
So if we continue to develop ourselves, I think we have access to higher knowledge. And I think that's the route that we're going, at least.
Yeah, it's so true what you just said, because we have all these different aspects of ourselves, body, mind, spirit, and soul. And I worked on my healing on like an energetic level. I was helping people. I worked with nutrition. I worked on all these levels, but I was just focused on my mission for many years, writing a course, writing a book, and I wasn't really moving my body. And so for me, that ended up being the thing that I had to do. That's why the yoga came in.
Yeah.
So I think that all aspects are important for our well-being. And I think it's just a matter of where do you want to begin is where you're going to begin.
Yeah.
So, and as if I'm helping you, if I'm coaching you, or if I'm guiding you, or if I'm the mirror, whatever, I don't want to say healer, but whatever we're doing, healing facilitator,
whatever we're doing,
whatever we're doing, that we hold the space for you to work on whatever you want to work on.
Yeah.
And that's perfect.
Yeah, no, but that's by allowing that also is a reflection that we are growing, that
Yes.
person's able to do that.
Yes.
I'm able to do this. And as long as we all are trying to be better, then I think that's, and by the way, I'm not saying that everyone has to get better or not. That's just what
we have to accept like the soul's path, because some people, they just have to explore a certain stage more. That's what they're interested in. And so people will explore what they need to explore as long as they need to explore it. That serves their soul ultimately. But I'm curious with you, because you have you're young and you have such an exciting path ahead of you. Where do you see yourself going in this amazing world that we are creating?
Yeah, I know, right? I would as a healer, I think that's always going to be there,
Yeah.
In that context, though, I would like to become closer and closer to God, in my case, Christ or God, but also want to create through that, just more creation. I don't know how I'll create, but I do think I think we all should try to express ourselves more, and I think that is healing.
Yeah.
By the way, before we end, I just have a question.
Sure.
I read something about aspiration and desire, and they said they're not synonymous. They said desire is to obtain, while aspiration is to achieve. And I was just curious as to What do you think about that in the terms of health and also life?
Yeah,
A
so
desire
I think,
to obtain and
I think every
aspiration.
word has a different frequency. So when I hear the word desire, I hear that you want something and you're in the future. And that's not a very powerful position to create your reality from. So I think I've learned that whenever I use a word like I need or I want, they're all in the future. The same with desire. Whereas
Aspiration.
aspiration is a different frequency, and it feels like it's happening in the now. Like I'm right here doing this right now.
Yeah.
So I'm very conscious.
Yeah.
So I think that for me is the difference.
Yeah. So I was thinking, like, in the context of health, a lot of people come to me. They desire health.
Yeah.
They want to be healthy.
And it's in the future.
Yeah. And I started thinking about aspiration. You know, if it's to achieve something, and I started thinking if we do what's we're meant to do through our purpose, or live a life of that we're happy and fulfilled, would that automatically also include us to be healthy and functioning?
Probably.
Yeah.
I think we'll be on a very high frequency, and the more high frequency we are in every day, like the feeling of joy and love, suddenly we just notice that no matter, there's been studies done with people that they're smoking full time, but they're very loving and very happy and joyful, and they live to 130.
Yeah, and so
it's like, what?
Yeah, so that's in that context, they're not thinking about health or disease.
No, maybe not 130.
No, but in general,
future,
they're not thinking about being healthy or
they're
being
just
sick.
living in a higher frequency.
Yes, and that's where I hope that we all can reflect and be there.
Nice.
But I don't want to say I hope. That'll be
that's
cool
in the
to see.
future too. That we'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing my part.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. So, and you will be part of that.
They say God willing, you know?
Yeah, of course. Oh, Brendan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was actually
I so
really
enjoyed this.
conversation.
Oh,
Yeah.
maybe a hug.